got this thing, and we can't cure it, and all of a sudden your life is hell, you know, and...
I just spent about a month staring at the ceiling on my back and contemplating suicide.
And I was told over the phone by my doctor that I had about 6 months to live and I should take care of my affairs.
Well, this is a death sentence.
It was like you was gonna die tomorrow.
A few years and that's it.
Hey, how are you?
The misconception, of course, is that once you have AIDS or HIV, you're going to die, and you're going to die quickly and tragically and painfully.
Once you've been infected with AIDS, or once you've been infected with the virus, you cannot go back. You cannot.
It was like I was dead, I think. No feeling. It was just this lump in my body. You know, like you have a lump in your throat. It was just the body, and I just couldn't move when I found out when they told me.
You were diagnosed and you were sent home with a bottle of AZT and told you were going to die.
I really believed I was an undesirable. I couldn't tell anyone, my closest friends or my family, because I really believed they were all going to disown me. I really felt very alone.
No one should have to be alone in this disease.
Come on in. Hi there.
I got involved with this project really through George. He sort of called me up one day and said, look, you know, doing this project, would you take a picture?
Is it hypoallergenic? Okay, I'm gonna break out in the next 5 seconds.
No.
No, he's wondering when the picture coming out because remember before they took the picture and the picture came right out to the side. So that's what he's wondering.
Actually, Michael Liberatore called me and told me about this idea that George had, and I think it was totally instinctual. It didn't require any thought whatsoever. The idea seemed absolutely right to me. We put the flyers up and I thought maybe 4 or 5 people might respond. It was a flyer that said, living positively. If you are living positively and want to help us change the face of AIDS, please call me at my studio.
This is our 15 minutes of fame.
You're such a good sport. Oh, that's wonderful.
I thought the response would be strong because I knew there were a lot of people out there who felt similarly to me and were leading lives similar to mine.
I hear every day of people living 5, 10 years.
And this is now more than 10 years later.
I think we're going to be around longer than most people think.
Living with it for 4 years now, I think for the first time I'm really living. And maybe for the first time I'm really happy.
How you doing? I'm fine.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, okay.
Nice to see you.
Boy, I'm so happy to see you.
When I was first diagnosed, there was nothing that anybody could tell me that would make that diagnosis go away. I had to go through the process of the anger and the guilt and the frustration and the hurt and the bitterness before I reached a level where I could accept my reality and open myself up to others. That's an individual process. The only thing I could do for you is to show you that I have the virus. I've lived with the virus since 1987, and it's no longer a death sentence.
Just relax in there. Just loosen up a little bit. It's easy, right? There's nobody here. It's just you and me.
I believe that the virus is going to become a manageable disease. If you're willing to change your life, if you're willing to take some risk that you've never taken before.
That's reload.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, this is fun.
Great.
Thank you. Will I be able to see the prints?
Yeah, of course
Will I
we're
be
going to
able
get one.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, of course
Great.
you will.
You now have to show my mother. She'll never believe it.
Well, of course you should show your mother.
The word AIDS is not a catastrophe.
AIDS is not a death sentence.
Long-time survivors, they're pissed off people, they're angry, and I think that's a good driving force. You want to live.
Any image you saw of someone with AIDS was always of someone wasting away or in the advanced stages of HIV, covered with lesions. And as someone who was sick, but not particularly ill at any given time, I found it mortifyingly depressing to see nothing edifying about being sick, or nothing that was hopeful or positive or that provided some kind of inspiration to continue living positively with the disease. And it was my idea, after getting out of the hospital, to present another dialogue or another role model about people living today with the disease and leading vibrant, exciting, vital lives.
One thing about being HIV positive is that it's like you're sick, but you're not sick. I don't look sick, you know, and yet I have this virus that I'm living with, and it's a whole part of my life. You know, it's sort of like being Jewish. You know, it's something that is a part of me, you know, that I spend time with every day. I just finished my first triathlon, and I think that sort of says a lot about me. I'm fit. I'm lean, I'm ready to tackle the day, tackle my life. I'm the same person who I was before, but everything just becomes, I don't know how to explain it, almost goes at like a faster pace. I feel like I'm in a time tunnel. My family, my friends, love and support, taking part in the community, contributing to the community, that's what's really important. If we can just try to sort of keep a focus on living.
If I didn't find out that I was HIV positive, I probably would not be here. I mean, it sounds terrible, but before HIV positive, I was not happy. Well, I was living in a world of my own. I used to use a lot of drugs. I wasn't living, really. I was just, you know, existing. Day by day, I was just in the streets, trying to do something to get my drugs, and that's all I cared about. I wouldn't have known I was HIV positive, I probably would not be here, because I would have probably been dead from an overdose.
You know, when you're faced with your own mortality, you have to sit down with yourself and have a little chat.
I was a schmuck who sold dresses my whole life.
It was like any 65-year-old that's laying in a hospital bed with a heart attack. It's just that I was 32.
I was running around with an illustration portfolio at top speed, meeting a lot of top-notch art directors.
I've really lost a lot of friends, and I realized that a lot of them died not really doing much of what they really wanted to do in their lives, and what they were doing was just what they felt obligated to do.
That was a real clear inner message that I got when I found out, is that I should be a fine artist instead of an illustrator.
At 31, I reevaluated everything, and that's when the decision was made. Okay, work's going to take a certain amount of my life, but my friendships are going to be important, my relationships are important.
People start to feel optimistic that they can continue to go on and that there is life after HIV disease.
The Eagle Scout project has a few requirements. Basically, it has to be a service to the community and demonstrate personal leadership. I decided that I'd start an AIDS education program in my school and community, and in the process tell them that I had AIDS.
I think that being positive has affected my job. It's made me more aware of how important it is for me to be a good teacher. I think that I'm a more dedicated teacher now, because I realize I may not have a lot more years left to teach, to affect children's lives, to make them have a better life. And I really want them to have a better life. I work in the ghetto, and the children I teach have a lot of disadvantages. And if I can make one child's life better, then I'm going to have done a good job.
Okay, nobody else is looking. Oh, well, actually, that's kind of wonderful. With everybody looking in the camera, too. Scoot in here even. Yeah, come in there. Okay. Now, Dawn, you might lose this hand. This hand right here is a little awkward. Okay, that's getting good. That's great. Don't cover up Dawn's face. Dawn, bring your face squish in here a little bit. Okay, that's funny because his ear's stuck on your eyebrow.
Well, I used to be a psychotherapist. and really loved what I did and worked a lot with people who were HIV and AIDS. And when I found out I was HIV positive, I realized that what I was really lacking was working with my hands and really doing something that was really fulfilling to me. Not that counseling wasn't, but I love working with wood. And so I decided to fulfill one of those dreams and go ahead and make it a career. So I have a business now where I repair antique furniture, and it fulfills a lot of what I really want to be doing right now. So that was a positive step for me, to be able to say, well, instead of doing this when I'm 65 and I retire, why don't I do it now?
I hate it when people say that this has been a really great thing and it's changed their life, and, you know, but it has. It has been a good thing.
I've been on drugs for many years, since the age of 11. So I really never known what it was to be normal, you know, without drugs. So that was just like part of my life. I had to be high to face every day. When I woke up in the morning and I didn't have drugs, I would just, my first thing, I have to get myself together, and getting myself together, and for me, being normal was getting high. So I would get up and say, I have to get normal, because I'm not. I was shaking and I was getting sick. So that was just part of my life. I didn't really know any other form of life.
You know, I wake up every day and say, I'm really glad I'm here. I'm really glad I'm able to feel the things that I feel on a daily basis and do the things that I do, and have the people in my life that are important to me, so I don't waste as much time.
You do the things you want to do. You do the things that are important to you.
And I don't have a lot of time to waste. None of us do, really, but I'm just reminded of it every day.
Everybody has to be on the same plane. Think about trying to get your noses on the same plane to me. Okay, so Robin, you got to bring your head in tighter. Yeah. Kevin, bring your chin down a little bit. Dawn needs to be a little bit higher. Hello?
The entire time I was in high school, nobody knew I was HIV positive other than my family. And kids would be coming up to me in 10th grade and they'd be like, I can't, my life is terrible. I mean, it really sucks. I mean, I'm grounded this weekend. And I would look at that and say, if that was my biggest problem, I think I'd throw a party. It sort of seems to trivialize other people's problems sometimes. When people say, oh, my parents are so unreasonable, they won't let me date on school nights, or they won't let me wear makeup. It makes that seem like a really trivial problem when you're facing your own mortality.
After 2 years of getting high and knowing that I was HIV positive, I said to myself, you know, I'm still alive and I'm using drugs. I have AIDS. I was supposed to die yesterday, you know, and I'm still here. So if I turn my life around and start eating the right things, sleeping right, not using drugs, maybe I could live longer, you know. And it was just something that before I really didn't care about life. I didn't care about living anyway. But just something inside of me wanted to live now. You know, it's just different. I wanted to live now.
Most of my friends have HIV, you know, and they're more gutsy. It's like to live. Let's live, you know?
My relationships with my friends have been much more enhanced.
Colors are brighter. People are friendlier.
My life has become much more rich, much more multifaceted.
I had my funeral, I died already, and now I'm back. I'm living with it.
Would I trade it away? In a second. Absolutely would I trade it away. Sure. I would just as soon be negative and stumble along. Absolutely. This is not a great gift, not by a long shot.
I just think it's important, you know, to get the word out, to break the image of people that are infected with the HIV.
I'm happy to be here. Okay, so just, it's a love thing.
And it's not always the, the prostitute or the homeless people on the street. It's people like me. Well, I'm a working man that goes to work, works 40 hours a week, and I live a normal life. I'm in the process of buying a home, and I'm engaged to be married, and I have a lot of hope.
when I decided to have Isaac, I had a hard time with that choice because the medical staff was really like against it. They couldn't tell me not to do it, you know, and make the choice for me. But they were very insistent that I have an abortion. So it was rough. Knowing I'm HIV positive and my son was born to the virus, I've been very careful. I take him regularly to the doctor every month. Since he was born, he's been in a research study which takes the HIV test every 3 months. What do they do to you when you go to the doctor? What does the doctor do?
He's do.
What did she do?
I remember, Mom.
What did she do? You know, you remember. What did she do to your arm?
To my arm?
Mm-hmm.
She gives me like this.
Yeah, a needle, right? And what did she do? Did she take your blood out? Come on, what did she do?
The blood out.
She takes the blood out. Get up. Get up for a minute.
Why?
And what else did she do?
So.
She checks over here. Yeah.
And why she check?
Yes, why?
Why? Why does she check you? I'll tell him that he's a miracle baby. To me, he is a miracle because he was born positive and his tests now, after 2 years, are showing negative. He has a good chance of being just like a normal child. Since he escaped, you know, from this virus, and I can't say 100%, but it's going that way.
Something? Something. I got it. Something. Come this way. You're my eyes. You're my legs. Put your leg out.
I would never say that becoming positive is a good thing, but I have gained a lot of good things by virtue of being seropositive. I would never say that anybody should become positive because it's a good thing. Not at all. It does change your life quite a bit. The interesting thing about HIV, there are a lot of interesting things. One of them is that you don't die of HIV. You die of one or several of a number of diseases. And there's a lot of hype about HIV and AIDS because of how people have gotten it. But if you had those same diseases without being seropositive, it would be a different thing.
Right.
Come on, Paul. All right. I know there's a lot going on, okay? But we're still just going to get a really wonderful, warm picture of the three of you. And Dennis, we haven't met before, and I know this is a lot to walk into, but just try and relax. Try and have a good time. Paula, I sort of wanted just to do a shot with you and with your arms around both of them. Okay. AIDS is kind of the thread that ties this project together, but the other thing that ties it together are the way people are dealing with their lives. I think of Michael Lynx, who came in and told me his story about how rough his life was on the streets in New York, and how meeting a woman named Paula from street work had really changed his life, and that now he's going out on the street, and the same people that he was living with, he's now giving out clean works and condoms to. And he's just a kid. He's like 20 years old, and he's not even grown up yet, but he's so grown up. And I'm so, impressed with and moved by people like that who I would never have had an opportunity to meet if it wasn't for this project.
Take 3.
I got into a network of educating myself. And of course I don't like it, but knowledge is power.
You do, you look fantastic.
Well, I'm trying to get into a study.
Oh, tell me, which
you have
one?
neuropathy.
Where?
Toes.
From DDI?
I thought so, but it could be HIV related. They're trying to.
You too?
Yeah, they're trying to figure it out, but the thing is, hepatitis T, they're trying to get me on that.
Yeah. Where, at NYU?
I tried Mount Sinai, and I failed because I'm on another. I failed the study. I failed the study. To learn about HIV, it takes part of your time. That's nutrition, that's exercise, that's acupuncture, meetings. Support groups are very important because you live longer if you go to a support group. You find out about medications through support groups.
I'm actually in better physical health now than I've ever been. And I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the positive feeling of a workout, the strength and energy you get from that internally as well as physically. That's been a very uplifting thing for me. If I wasn't positive, I would have thought about working out. I would have thought about changing my life, my lifestyle, my eating patterns, and everything else. But yeah, I didn't need to. Why bother?
What's less important are $900 suits. What's less important is really the bullshit. Sort of the bullshit of, what I think we all get caught up in on a daily basis. Whether it's the taxi didn't get somewhere in time, or someone screaming on the telephone at work.
One of the things that we've learned is that stress is one of the greatest catalysts for activating the disease and causing one to get ill with opportunistic infections. So I have to try and find a balance between my activities and taking care of myself so that I won't fall into being ill again. If I'm ill, there's nothing I can do but be ill and hopefully live through it.
I controlled it with vitamin B.
Is it just in your feet or is it going up your legs?
No, because I stopped it,
Good.
and the thing is, these get numb. My toes get numb.
Right.
So, of course, I wore these pointy shoes today because I wanted to look cool.
When you go up the stairs?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I have really controlled it with vitamin B. I got it through other PWAs, going to meetings. It really helps.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Do they think it's the drugs or do they think...
Oh, I stopped taking the drugs.
You did?
I refuse to take AZT, DDI. I will not take it.
I went to the doctor, and she really gives me the treatment with the, they like the needles.
Yes.
And the thing is, I also went to an herbalist down Chinatown, and that raised my whites and reds. I never had a blood transfusion with AZT. I was dropping, and I did it, and it was great. And DDI with the vitamin B. If I could go on combination...
The only thing, my T4s are low, but everything else is in normal range. My lymphocytes, platelets, white blood, red blood cells, they're all in normal range, and they can't figure it out. And I said, leave it alone. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I've never seen any kind of situation where so many barriers have broken down. A lawyer standing there talking to someone in full drag, standing there talking to a mother of a child, standing there talking to on and on and on, and it's been incredible to watch. I'll be shooting and I'll turn around and I'll look over at the kitchen and I'll just see 5 people standing there having something to eat and having a good time and laughing that never would have been thrown together.
Who's your doctor?
Dr. Davis at St. Vincent. She does research. But I want to tell you, I broke out with one of those herpes, and everything just went down. I got thrush.
That was a big problem for me.
Yes, I got thrush, sun, windburn.
Zovirax and diflucan.
Zovirax is $188. $188 for a prescription.
Cocaine. Now I'm talking about different kind of drugs.
I'm undergoing chemo now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I'm doing chemo.
How long have you been doing it?
8-week cycle now.
Really?
I had a study, and my white blood cell count went totally down, and so I have to give myself shots of Neupogen.
Is your picture in there?
It's right behind you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's you. Who are they? Your kids? Wow.
I carry myself as a regular human being that is healthy. And when I say I have AIDS, they're just, oh my God, she's, that they're more caring, which sometimes makes me want to cry. I said, gee, I must have a serious illness here,
I found out when I was about 12 years old. I was infected when I was 10. So basically, almost as long as I can remember clearly, I've known I was infected. I think being infected, being HIV positive, has sort of shaped me and made me the person who I am. I can't tell you how I was before because I don't really remember. I can't tell you how I'd be without it because it's sort of become a part of me as much as everything else.
I didn't know anybody with AIDS, and I said, oh my God, and I was one of them that, don't give me the silverware and, give him a paper plate, he's got it, That's how bad I was, and then it happened to me.
I think there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of alienation, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of anger.
It's difficult for me to accept that you can tell me how to live with something that you've never experienced.
Well, if they can find a book by Emily Post, they should definitely, you know, do whatever she says. But I think that there is no book, there is no cut, you know, and pat way to behave.
We've relied on the media too much to tell us what we are and to define what we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to feel.
I, you know, am living with what's called a chronic life-threatening illness. Yeah, so, you know.
Well, look right in there and tell me it's in there. You know who's in there? I bet you can see Veronica in there. Can you see Veronica in there?
In the camera?
I bet you can see your reflection in there.
Yeah.
Can you?
Can you see it? Yes.
You can see yourself?
Yes.
Yeah? How do you look in there? Do you think you look pretty? You look pretty in there?
I may be in denial, but I understand the fact that I'm infected with this virus. And I know that this virus will probably end my life. How I'm going to deal with that, I think, is up to me.
I used to say there's sort of something I call healthy denial. You know, I'm living in my state of healthy denial, which is sort of, I'm totally aware all the time about my disease, and yet you have to put it, sometimes you just have to sort of put it aside for a bit, sort of to be able to go on with your day.
I suppose it's denial, or it's a positive outlook on life.
All right, so I might get sick, but I've already made changes in my life that made my life worth living. I'm not going to lay down and say, I wish I did it differently. And I don't care if you have AIDS, you die of a heart attack, or you get hit by a car and you wind up in a hospital bed. Most people, when they get to that place, wish they did their life differently.
You know, you can be hit by a bus.
I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Anybody could get hit by a bus tomorrow, but nobody realizes it.
I could walk out of here and get hit by a bus, you know. Why should I stop for this?
You can be in the middle of crossfire of drug dealers, you know. There are other ways to die besides dying of AIDS.
None of us know how long we're going to live or when we're going to die, but with a life-threatening illness, it sort of brings the issue closer to home. It makes you realize that you're probably not going to be around as long as you'd like.
No, I don't have like my 20-year CD waiting for me, and you know, I told my accountant that he really didn't have to worry about my retirement.
None of us knows how long we have, and if I have less than most people expect to have, well, I'm gonna make it the best time of my life. I'm not gonna mope around and be unhappy.
Welcome to Lucky Farm Market. Isn't it fabulous? Let's take a closer look.
Does anybody know what this is?
And that is low library. No, wait, that's low. That's low. What the heck is the name of that one? I forgot. But this is my favorite thing. This is Alma Mater. Isn't she lovely?
Don't get out of there yet. Hang on just 1 second. All right? Just relax. It's adorable. I love it.
You know, if you sit in a room full of 40 people that are HIV positive and they're in their 20s and 30s, there's a lot more wisdom in that room than you'll ever encounter at a board meeting at some CEO, you know, organization. It isn't happening. It's the most powerful thing you'll ever hear. Most people don't want to deal with those issues, though. They don't want to deal with death. They don't want to deal with mortality at the age of 30.
I mean, everyone has their own way of dealing with HIV, and there is no one way. And to tell people that this is not the way you should be living your life is absurd.
This painting is called The Fear of Death, HIV-1. And basically it's a figure in a hospital bed, sort of abstractly hooked up to an IV. And I don't know if I think it's a very good painting, but I did manage to get the image down that I had in my head.
I date a lot of middle America men, and the response I get from them, I never met anybody with AIDS before. It either could be interesting or, you know.
It's difficult to believe as a heterosexual woman that men will go out with you and date you and love you. You know, that's one of the hardest things for me. I happen to be in a relationship that I've been in for a long time, but I don't know, to be honest with you, if I stay in it because I'm afraid that no one else would want to be with me.
And if I'm going to have a relationship with somebody, even just a date, I tell them I have it.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most difficult times. You know, when we first met. At that time I had a year clean of drugs, and wasn't involved in a relationship. And then after meeting Dawn, you know, I needed to go get tested, and you know, I did. And we had been going out for about a year at that point. We hadn't known each other for a year, and we had a couple dates. And of course, we both went to get tested together, and hers came back negative, and mine came back positive.
It's not as important for me to be physically intimate if it's going to compromise somebody else's peace of mind. So what I did learn is the sex or the intimacy was much greater, because it wasn't about just an orgasm, you know what I mean? It became much more loving, much more affectionate, much more physical, and it lasted a lot longer.
The last 2 years I've been single and have been out on the dating scene, and that's been a very different experience. I found, for the most part, people are very positive and really appreciate that you're talking about it and that you've brought it up.
It's more difficult to approach dating or courtship for me, because you have to go so quickly beyond the casual getting to know each other phase by talking about HIV, which instantly brings it to a heavier place. And sometimes it seems like it would be nicer to just get to know each other more slowly.
It's an opportunity to tell the truth, finally.
I never had a negative reaction, except for maybe some men that just want to pick you up over the night. Then they get shocked, oh, AIDS. But can you generally feel that when people are going to do it?
The only people who have reacted negatively are people who have not tested for the HIV virus. I think that anyone who's tested for the virus has had to go through that process of thinking about the possibility, as vague as it may be, that the possibility that they could be HIV positive. And I think that in and itself takes you through the whole thing.
When I found out I was positive, I didn't think I was attractive anymore. So I didn't think I would receive love ever. But now that things like hair don't matter, since I don't have any, I mean, I found out what real love is, you know? It's from here, it's not from the neck up. I mean, it's... I try to give and receive love, and I'm conscious of it. That's the difference between before and now.
Tell me another animal you like.
Cow.
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 Mouse. Mouse. Is there a mouse in there? Look right in there and tell me if you can find a mouse. Is there a cat in there?
Yes.
I don't think.
Doggy.
You're not even looking. You tell me if there's a doggy in there.
Could be a doggy.
Yes.
Is there a doggy in there?
Yes.
I just came home. I was coming home from the grocery store, these 2 bags, and I got into my apartment, and I just threw them down, and I just started crying. And I said, I can't deal anymore. I was just losing it. And I called my girlfriend, who I went to high school with, and told her that I was HIV positive, and what a release. It was such a relief, and she didn't shun me. And you know, that gave me, I think, the courage to be able to tell other people. I also started the process of picking up my life, you know, by just doing that, just that one phone call. I guess calling her and telling her I was accepting that I was HIV positive for the first time.
I'm viewed as what they call an innocent victim. They look at my situation and they say he was 10 years old, he was infected through blood products, there was absolutely nothing he could do. He got AIDS through no fault of his own, so therefore he's innocent. And it really bothers me because if you say I'm an innocent victim, that implies that somewhere there has to be a few guilty victims. And it still shocks me that people could think you could do something to deserve AIDS.
My parents were a lot of into the guilt thing, and well, the way you were behaving, you were responsible for it and all that stuff. And I basically literally told them to fuck off, and if they ever said that to me again, then I wouldn't speak to them. Because it doesn't matter what you did, nobody's asking for this. I think they're afraid. They're afraid for me of what's going to happen. And my father does not really like the fact that I'm doing all these public things. I mean, he's never said, don't do them. But he doesn't want any people of his work circle or my parents' friends to know. And my mother is really more supportive of other people knowing. And I feel that they should tell people in their own time, when they're comfortable. But I think it's better for people to find out via, person-to-person exchange than finding out by looking in a newspaper or turning on the television seeing, Heidi and Peter's daughter is HIV positive. I used to walk in the door where they live, and we would shake hands, and that would be the greeting. And now I get a hug from my father and my mother.
Well, my grandpa, a real Southern conservative kind of guy. He, I was always afraid to go to the grocery store to get whatever, and for fear that the poor clerk would give him the wrong change. But I always knew he loved me. But as conservative as he is, I was really afraid to tell him. Aside from my parents, that was the hardest thing I had to do, to tell him. But I just sat down with him one day, and he was watching a hockey game. My brother was with me. And I sat by him, and I took him by the hand, and I said, "Grandpa, there's something I've got to tell you." And I told him I had AIDS. And he looked at me straight in the eye, and he said, "I love you. You're my grandson. Nothing else matters." And I said, "Grandpa, I got it the normal way." And he said, I know. It's all right." And he just patted me on the leg and went back to his hockey game. And I've never felt so loved and supported in my life.
Beautiful. You can get down. You were very good. I did for a half a roll.
Where's your mom?
Yeah.
I work for the Bloomingdale Police Department. I'm one of the dispatchers. My immediate supervisor knows that I'm positive, and one other person that I work with knows I'm positive. I'm still expected to do everything that everybody else does, and I have no reason to be limited in anything I do. It's a positive image for other people to see me in my role. My commander, my division, in cooperation and meeting with the other commander and with the chief, have all said that what's important is my work performance, and outside influences have no effect on how I do my job, and that it's done well.
201 First and Ridge. That plate comes back clear valid to Jack Bedotis out of Rosemont on an 82 Chevy. Jack Bedotis is a YOB of 63. That file comes back to be clear and valid.
There's a speeder out of Cook County, 411-601. The guys in the street, when they hear me give out a call, they need to know, and they do know, that I've gotten everything I can. Their lives may be on the line for this. They need to know that the information I have is the most accurate, complete picture being given to them. So there's a lot of trust between the street people and the radio people.
Oh, great. A little bit more smaller, yeah.
Okay.
Great, so.
I like that serious look.
We got that serious look.
I like it.
If I had another disease like cancer, and yeah, it would be easier because those are the diseases that aren't put on the people that are undesirable. Okay, people who are HIV positive, either they're gay or they're drug addicts, and this is the way it was. I don't think that's the way it is today.
People with AIDS, HIV are everywhere in every walk of life. There's more people living with this than have died from this, and it's not going to go away, and you can't hide from it. People everywhere, you know, from farmers to the police to the drag queens, you know, everybody in between.
You know, I see a lot of homophobia, a lot of hatred directed at me, you know, and I'm straight. You know, they just made this assumption that I'm gay, you know, because I got the virus. And when I panhandle, my sign mentions AIDS, and you know, people like they walk across the street and half kidding but half serious, or like they're afraid to put money in the cup or something, afraid to touch me or something. And you would think people would know better after all this time, you know. I was shocked at how much homophobia there is, even in New York City, you know. I mean, and this is supposed to be like, you know, a relatively safe place, you know, for people that are gay, and that was pretty surprising to me, you know. If it's like this in New York, what's it like in the Midwest or, you know, South or something like that, you know. And, do a lot of reading, you know. That's something I enjoyed. I read Sports Illustrated, People, Vanity Fair, just about any magazine, you know. I'll read Catholic Digest, I'll read like Out Week. I'll buy a Reader's Digest, because that's only $2 and I get a lot of reading out of it.
We were talking about AIDS. It got into the subject of AIDS, and she was saying how gays are wrong, how gays are, I didn't know, everything was negative with the gays and AIDS, and I couldn't take it anymore. And this is the first day I got open about it, and I lived around the block from 34th Street, it's a main thoroughfare, and I just said, listen, you're looking at it. You're looking at AIDS. I got it.
Are we supposed to say gay in this? Okay.
Queer.
But queer, but anyway.
My training officer outed me. Best thing she ever did for me. She got a reprimand by the department for violation of general orders, and I got free.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Bree Scott Hartland, and the editor of a magazine called PWA Coalition Newsline. It's a magazine for people with AIDS, and it's distributed internationally. It's been around since 1985, when People with AIDS Coalition was started. I think the community of people with AIDS is a lot different than any other community or population, actually, of people who have faced life-threatening illnesses, in the sense that we are the first, certainly in the 20th century, certainly within our lifetimes, to have been recognized as a population of people that have attempted to come together in a community. It began, of course, with gay men who were coming down with AIDS because, one, we were loud about it, two, we were famous, many of us. Rock Hudson, Liberace. We decided to gather around ourselves and begin to support ourselves and help each other. We were artists and people who knew nothing about social services. We had to help each other. And the doctors knew nothing about what to do about this illness. So we began to form a community even stronger around a life and death issue, and that was AIDS.
I'm the director of an organization called Visual AIDS, and we're the people who do Day Without Art, Night Without Light, and a host of other projects, including the Ribbon Project. The Ribbon Project was conceived by members of the Visual AIDS Artists Caucus in May of '91, and we broke it at the Tonys in early June that year when the cameras opened and there was Jeremy Irons wearing a nice big red throbbing one on his lapel.
I've seen people who, what we would call people who are affected by AIDS, our mothers, our fathers, our siblings, our best friends, becoming a part of what's going on.
Quilt Project came about through a demonstration in San Francisco, fall of 1986. The intention of the Quilt Project is awareness. It's all awareness. They're not tombstones. A lot of people consider them that. They're a memorial panel. They're a memorial panel. Each panel tells something about the person's life.
We had political, social, cultural, and individual structures in place already. Though they weren't as strong as we would have liked them to have been, certainly they couldn't have been strong enough to move the Reagan administration in this country to a place to recognize that AIDS was an epidemic and was going to get worse before it got any better. We were politically strong enough to begin to get ourselves mobilized enough to do something about it, with everything from street actions to social service agency building. When other populations began to be affected by AIDS, they too needed to join in a community of people, and because we were the first people to recognize it among ourselves, we had a community in place. So now what we have are many AIDS communities that have begun to join in worldwide communities to represent many different populations of people affected by it.
There are children out there that has AIDS, and they're going through some hell, and if it wasn't for the gay men, those kids wouldn't even have medication, because the gay men, they were pioneers in this and struggled, and so we can get some free medication, and it's so expensive to keep us alive. I didn't know what neuropathy was. You know, when you take certain medications, you get very bad reactions, AZTs, blood transfusions, and DDI. I took that, which means it affects your nervous system, which is neuropathy in the feet or pancreatitis. So when you go to these support groups, they say, watch out for this. The minute you get this pain, cut it. And it saved me to my legs anyway.
I'm very much involved in providing AIDS care for other patients who can't get care, creating access to other people, kind of in a helping mode.
It makes me feel great that I'm somehow giving back to my community that's been there to support me, who's really helped me.
Well, I came into God's Love We Deliver in 1987 as a volunteer. And at that time, we were delivering meals on foot or on skates. We didn't have rollerblades then. Or by bicycles, however you had a way to get the meal to them from a restaurant, which don't need the meal, you brought it to the client. I was attracted to this sort of work because it is something you do for people that are in your community. You're helping someone that is isolated and alone, and you see an immediate gratification in the response you get when you bring the meal to them.
It's sort of like we're on the front lines of a war, a battle, and we're sort of like the first shock troops. I see everyone wearing red ribbons and giving lip service towards this disease, and that's fine and good, but these people need to eat. Food, warmth, clothing, and shelter, that's all they need, and it's helped a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. We serve over 600 meals a week.
This is where the confusion comes in. We don't know if that's it,
Well, why don't I
or
have
if the
that-
building
what
over
is the
there
seven-
is it.
What is the address?
788
788 what, Columbus?
Columbus. I think it's that building. I'm guessing. It's either that or that.
Okay, let's go there.
That taught me that I didn't have to do very much to really help someone that was in a very seemingly helpless state, to give food to the sick. It's a very simple concept. Charles?
Okay.
Okay.
Oops.
Careful.
How you doing? Good.
We're not supposed to be having stress. We're supposed to be taking it easy. And for us, being HIV, it's an outlet for us. So it actually reduces stress. And we enjoy what we're doing.
Hey, am I covered for insurance on this if I break my leg?
No, you're not.
What if I run into the camera?
Oh, shit. Oh, film.
Basically, the most healed and most spiritual people that I know are ones that carry the message to somebody that's sick and suffering. Whether it's an alcoholic that's in recovery, helping another alcoholic, whether it's somebody that's HIV positive that's helping somebody that's newly diagnosed, whether it's visiting people in hospitals, whether it's just listening to somebody that's in pain.
I had a great lesson one time. I was at a dinner and Mother Teresa was there. And here's a woman who deals with the lowest of the low and an overwhelming odds against her in Calcutta. And somebody had asked her, how do you do such great things? And she said, it's not that I do great things, I do lots of little things, but I do them with great love. And that philosophy I kind of incorporated into watching whatever I'm doing, whatever little thing that is, and trying to get as much enjoyment out of it as possible.
I work as a health educator for the Minority Task Force on AIDS. And part of my job is going out and talking about safer sex to people and giving them prevention information.
No good.
You gotta help him out.
I guess the most extraordinary thing that I've learned so far is that as human beings, on the whole, that we are at our best when things are at their worst. The amount of compassion that I've watched come through this studio and the way people are and the way people have opened up to me has just been incredible. And people are very kind.
The New York Aquatic Swim Team, which is the gay swim team in New York, all the members who are HIV, many who have full-blown AIDS, that was a beautiful photograph, and it's been a very compelling image.
When you're in this swimming pool with 40 guys or 30 guys and 10 women, and you're almost completely naked, it's a different kind of bonding experience, and it's fun.
When Rick was at his lowest point diagnostically, he broke, how many? 4 records in Los Angeles, and that was a year and a half ago. And I think that we inspire one another.
We're gonna do a 300, 1625, 300, 650s, 300, 100, and a 300. So your 300 is gonna be on a 130 pace. Your 25s are gonna be on 20 seconds. Your 50s are gonna be on 40. Your 100 is gonna be on 120. I was gonna give you 115, but I thought you'd kill me, so I'm giving you 120. So I want you to basically be exhausted at the end of the set. All right?
I think being with those people in that photograph is what has meaning for me today. When John and I were walking afterwards, you know, we were talking about what an odd experience it really was. It's like, well, who's going to be next? You know, if you know, like, which one of us is going to die next? And so it had kind of a morbid shadow to it, really. And when I think about, like, if one of us died, really, yeah, it would just be devastating, I think. I mean, we're so fortunate, really, to have this thing that we do, you know, 3 or 4 times a week. And for a lot of gay people, they don't have this sense of community that we have on the swim team. And I think that really shows in the photograph that we are community.
Culturally, we are not allowed to be ourselves until we become independent from our families or the social structures that we're raised in, that we live through that devastation. Coming out of the closet or being in the closet is facing a life-threatening situation oftentimes. So once we have learned to overcome that and begun to live with that, we find it easier to live with this life-threatening situation as well.
There's no need for me to be ashamed of who I am, what I've got. What other people think just doesn't matter. It's my happiness that matters.
I have one friend in particular who just recently died in March who
never really got to do what he wanted to do, and I don't really know what his whole attitude around that was, other than I think he was afraid to take the risk. Last Christmas, while he was still alive then, I said to him, I want to give you a Christmas gift, and I don't want to just send you just anything, because we did exchange gifts for years, and so I want to do something different for you. So what I've decided is I want you to sit down with me and help me create a book of all your photography, because he was a photographer, and he was a good one. And I said, I want to publish a book, and I want to donate the profits to whatever AIDS organization you want. Well, he didn't answer me on the phone. He didn't really know what to say. And a couple days later, he called me back, and he said, I just can't believe, that you would do that. And I said, yeah, I really want to do it for you, because I know that you're a great photographer, and I want your work to be seen by people, even when you're not here. Well, we never got to do it, because he died in March, and he never did gather the information for me. And I think that what that was about for him is it was hard for him to face the fact that he was going to die. And by providing me with the information, it was going to say to him that his life was going to be over. We're still in the process of gathering the information, and I still do want to do it, because I think it's important, that he be remembered in that way.
And well, I love Ross Johnson, who brought in this little mannequin that's sitting on his shoulder in his photograph. And Ross we talked a lot about what he should bring and what he shouldn't bring. And he said in his apartment he had this little guy that he used to draw, and he would change his position every day depending on how he felt. So he brought in this little guy that day. And I loved that.
We're all gonna die. That's the bad news. But the good news is that if you realize that and live consciously and in the moment, then you're gonna be happier.
We went snorkeling and in quite deep water and along a very rocky coast. And I could, with my sort of small wind capacity, keep close to the surface and marvel at the things that were below. And Ross, using his legs like a dolphin together, could undulate perfectly to the bottom and stay. And be among the coral, and be among the fauna, and stay an unnatural length of time. I mean, it was stunning. And he would undulate back up in this perfect picture of grace and beauty.
He had a great spirit, and he had a great sense of humor. He loved language, and he loved art, and he loved life. And that's Ross. I don't think he would say that there is a tragedy. I don't think AIDS is a tragedy. It's breathed life into life. It's enlightened, educated, enlivened. It's given a tremendous amount of depth to many, many, many people's lives that we may never have had, and we've been forced to have. We've been forced to embrace. Like the image of him swimming, to undulate through the waters of life with joy and with the light coming through and with the bubbles and to see all the joy of life all around. There's a tremendous mystery of life and death, and we're hanging out right on the edge of it. And there's a lot to learn there.
The reason that I was photographed in drag was because George and Carolyn had both said to me that they wanted to photograph people who were living positively with AIDS. I mean, that they were living proof of the fact that you could live with AIDS, and by living they meant express yourself.
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come just home. Just a little bit, hey, baby, just a little bit. Just a little bit, mister, just a little bit. I ain't gonna do you wrong while you're gone. I ain't gonna do you wrong, 'cause I don't wanna. All I'm asking
picture says about me that they keep telling me I'm gonna die, so let me just live it up.
Zest for living and a full life, a very positive life that's being lived, one filled with humor and joy.
Shows someone with a sense of humor and someone who's in good health and someone who's pretty vibrant.
I don't like my picture. It looks kind of corny, but it's cute.
I love motorcycles and I love leather. And life. And life.
Just making the decision to take the picture was so liberating.
You can be positive and still have good friends, old friends still around you and care about you and support you in your life.
It's me loving my kids, loving me, and they're kind of leaning on me, and at the same time, I'm kind of leaning on them.
Love. Motherly love. Love the kids. Just love a family.
I'm sort of a positive, positive guy by nature.
Even though I'm homeless, I think I'm a pretty content person. I think I'm as content as the next person, possibly even a little bit more.
I like that smile. Oh, God. Oh, I'm so proud. I feel like I'm gonna cry.
You can do that.
Oh, my God.
Where are we? We're in the center of the universe. New York City, the most spectacular space in America. We're in the largest building in America. One World Trade Center. The most powerful, the most omnipresent, and it captures not just an idea, but a spirit and a physical presence, and we're part of that presence.
Feel really nice.
It's amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a photograph that really felt like me before. That's really nice.
Veronica, who is that? Who is that?
Oh, how pretty. Look, it says Veronica on it.
I don't think people are expecting to see the police in this series of photographs.
I guess I'm a little overwhelmed by this whole thing. A little overwhelmed.
I love it. I love you and Steve now. It's such brotherhood.
I like it. Isn't it? And it's so Henry too, so cocky and yeah.
Ever since I've been a very small child, I've always wanted to be president of the United States. And I've told many people this. And I understand you have to be 35 to run for the presidency. So right now I'm 19. In the year 2008, it's a presidential election year. I'll be 34 for the primaries, but I'll turn 35 just in time for the election. So in the year 2008, I told them since they're 7th graders now, they'll all be voting by then. In the year 2008, it's Henry for president. I travel around the country speaking about AIDS here. The book is by Carolyn Jones. It's a book called Living Proof. It's a portrait of about 30 or 40 different people who are living with HIV. That was the first one.
Grandmother of 7 as well.
Why'd you roller skates?
I know it. Hot pants and skates.
We're going to present this to President Clinton. We chose to give him the book because this is going to hopefully show him that there are people behind the numbers. It shows that people are still living lives. They haven't died. A lot of people think you get AIDS, you get sick, and you die, and that's all there is to it. They don't realize that after you get AIDS, you still live, you still have a very productive and fulfilling life.
We're a little nutty, and we're happy, and we're healthy, and we're not underweight.
Definitely not underweight.
That there are parents who are supportive. I have my hand over my mouth. Maybe I've been cracking too many jokes in bad taste.
I've had a lot of good times in that hammock. Yes, I had AIDS, but some days I go bicycling.
What I'd like to see, is people fighting against, AIDS and not fighting against people with AIDS. That's what I'd like to do.
My parents always taught us that we should stand up for what we believe in and stand up for what's right or what we feel is right. And that's what we've been doing, and I think that's probably what I'm most proud of. Henry for President, 2008.
I'm handling whatever you want to call it, the dragon. I'm that knight in shining armor that says, stay back, stay back.
My plans for myself are, I guess, to continue doing what I'm still doing. I mean, which is working and helping people.
I want to be happy. I want to be able to be, you know, spend a lot of time with my son and be able to really get to know him, and I want him to get to know me so that the day that I'm not here, he can talk about me. Positive. What more can I ask for? I just want to be happy, really.
You know, pain and suffering is life, but misery is a choice. I choose not to be miserable.